Okay, so here in 2.3, we're coming back to these our line relationships we were talking about in our first lesson, corresponding, alternate interior, the river, the bridge, all that. I'll make a quick note here that it was left out in the first vocab, but what we're looking at now in this lesson is specifically when the two lines that make our river are parallel. Again, they were supposed to say parallel right here. Notice the rest say parallel as well. In the first lesson, you'll notice that, again, we didn't specify that. And in fact, we had an example here where these lines are definitely not parallel. They're all, not traveling the same direction. We can still talk about those relationships, corresponding, alternate interior, all of that. But when the lines are parallel, something special happens. And you saw those relationships in the scavenger hunt. Corresponding angles end up being congruent. So do alternate interior and alternate exterior. The consecutives ends up being supplementary, which again means they add to 180, guys. You got to have that memorized. So we're going to practice that a couple times. Now, you do not have these problems in your notes. What I decided to do for this video is do a couple easier single-step problems before we get into the notes where you do a bunch all at once and it gets really confusing. So we're going to do that example in class. If you would just take out a separate piece of paper, you can pause the video really quickly if you need to. Take out a separate piece of paper. We're going to do 4 problems together that are just really quick, one-step practicing these relationships. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. Again, you can pause the video to take out a piece of paper if you need to. So example 1. So what we're going to do here is we are going to be given in all of these cases, now I should have already said this, that these lines are parallel. You're supposed to be told that, or they're supposed to be marked with the little arrows. We're going to assume they're parallel to do these problems. So what you're still going to do with, as with any of these, and what we're doing again in the first lesson is identify the name of the relationship. So here's 65 and here's X. Your first step is to figure out, are they corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior? What do we think? Hopefully we're getting used to this. Again, think inside, outside the river, same side of the bridge or different sides of the bridge. And then if it's not any of those, remember that corresponding is still an option. So what do we think for the name of this one? Well, these are going to be alternate because here's my bridge. Here's my bridge. They are on different sides of the bridge. And they're going to be exterior because they are outside my river, right? Here's my river, they are outside. So what we do is we need to eventually have this memorized. But because these lines are parallel, alternate exterior angles have a special relationship. Let's look back to our notes. Alternate exterior angles, let's find it. What do they say about alternate exterior angles? They are congruent. So if this is 65 and X and they are congruent, what does that mean X equals? 65. That's the definition of congruent, right? X equals 65 degrees as well. So once again, we named the relationship. We looked to our notes and we saw, okay, hey, alternate exterior angles are going to be the same, 65, 65. Let's go ahead and try number 2. So same thing, name the relationship. Then we're going to look at our notes and we're going to see what's special about that relationship and then go from there. So what is the name of these two angles here, X and 100? What are they? Well, they are consecutive because they are on the same side of the bridge. They are both to the right of the bridge. Interiors because they are inside the river. Here's my river, right? There's all my water. That's the inside. So let's look to our notes. What does it say is special about consecutive interior angles? What are they? They are supplementary, which means they add up to 180 degrees. Again, it's not just they're going to be equal. You guys like that one because it's easy. These two add up to 180 degrees. So if this is 100 degrees, I need to know what's left over to add up to 180. What does X have to be? Well, X plus 100 is 180 by definition of supplementary. We should be able to see this without having to do much math, but that means that X has to equal 80. So these are not equal, and in fact, they don't look equal. They don't look equal. They're not, actually. They're going to add up to 180. I just got like 2 more minutes. So let's try this one more again. Again, first step is to identify the relationship, look to your notes and see what's special about that relationship, and then apply it. So go ahead. What's the name of this relationship? Well, hopefully you realized these can't be any of the interiors or exteriors because one's inside the river and one's outside the river. But you'll notice they are corresponding. They are in the same position in each x. Now, because they are corresponding, hopefully this makes sense. Because they're in the same position, corresponding angles are congruent. So what does that make x here then if these two angles are congruent? X has to be 80 degrees. Again, hopefully, guys, this is making sense. Pretty straightforward. Just a coincidence here that it ended up being the same thing as last time. Your only options are either they're equal or they add to 180. Let's try this last one here, and let's see if we get a little bit stuck on this one. Notice something about these two angles that is different than all the rest of the pictures. I'll give you a little hint here. The name of the relationship between these two is not going to be on this page. So what is the name of the relationship between those two angles? This is an old one. These are a linear pair. Again, guys, if our angles come from one x, it's one of our old vocab. Linear pair, vertical angles. They're only coming from one x. I don't have an angle up here as well. So the next step then is linear pair angles do what? Are they equal? Do they add to 180? What do we think? Linear pair angles are going to add to 180 because a straight line, right, linear, opens up to 180 degrees. So one angle plus the other one is going to give me 180. Again, we can do this math in our head probably, but here it is. X would be 70 degrees. So once again, guys, you've seen this in your homework a couple times now. Don't forget about our old relationships. They're still going to pop up. So in class, like I said, we're going to do some of the harder ones where you have to apply these relationships multiple times in a problem. I just wanted to do a quick little intro here where you're only looking at one relationship at a time.